It's Blackwax and Zay, Blackmencarpool bonus edition. We got another interview. We got a very special guest in the house tonight, Zay.
Yes, sir.
We got Dennis Dotson, aka Dottination, and he brought along his producer as well.
Yep.
So, very interesting background. I've been knowing Dottie for at least 10 years, maybe 15, and I've always been watching him. He's always been a guy that's making moves. This type of person does not let grass grow under his feet at all. He's always moving and shaking, and he's a go-getter. And so I've been watching him, right? I don't troll anybody, but I've been watching him, right, on Facebook. And after this whole turmoil that happened in our country, he posted some very positive, inspirational words, and I I reached out to him because he was calling for people to come together to make a change, and knowing that he was a former police officer, I didn't know, what his stance was on. I felt like he was somewhere in the middle because obviously he's black, obviously he was Dallas Police Department, and so we're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Very good, very good.
How you doing today, Dennis?
I'm good, my brother. First off, thank you for having us on. Myself and Mr. James Hayes, we are blessed to be here, and yeah, let's get right into it, man. Let's get right into it.
Dennis, from the short time that I've actually known you, it sounds like you're very much a go-getter, and I think that's a lot of reasons why you probably always set yourself away from the pack, whether it's probably in sports, academics, or whatever you did.
Right.
And so I really do take my hat off to you because that's something that I feed off of. I feed off individuals like you because as entrepreneurs, you have to be able to navigate through different obstacles.
Thank you, my brother.
And like I said, it just sounds like in the little time that we spent together, you sound like you're doing good things, and I just can't wait to get more information from you in this interview.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate it.
thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So when I met Dennis back in the day, I think he was in college. I was fresh out of college, and he's always been you've always been an entrepreneur. And so I saw on Facebook one day, you became a police officer. And the first thing came to my mind was, Dennis got a job? I'm not mad at him, but I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
tell us a story of how you became a part of Dallas Police Department.
Right. Well, it's not that great of a story. Basically, I needed a job. And, I was in the middle of a deal that basically took a little longer than expected to get funded. And, 1 month turned into 2 to 3 to 4 to 8. And, before I knew it, I have obligations as every man does, to my family. And I told my wife, that I was going to go, grab get a job.
Right.
And I'm from a family of law enforcement, uncles, grandfather, cousins. A lot of people in my family were law enforcement officers. So it was kind of an easy transition because I had seen that growing up. And I looked in the paper one day and I saw $10,000 signing bonus for Dallas police officers. So I called the recruiter. Next thing I know, I was in the academy. Next thing I know, I was graduating. I was on the streets, and that's really the story, of how I got into it. And I learned so much in the process. My 8 years as a Dallas police officer actually equipped me better for business. So, like for example, like you said, since you've known me, I've always been doing something, right? But the discipline that I grabbed from while being an officer, and the confidence that it builds, allowed me to go into certain areas. It opened up certain doors that I'm definitely blessed to have. You got to realize, once you've learned how to control your adrenaline, and you've been in real situations that kind of, really test the real the real you. You know, you really don't see the real person until, fear is present, right? You got to really, the real person, you know, when your life is on the line, you get to see what somebody's really made of. And when you're tested over and over again, you know, in that regard, you kind of grow a certain skill set. So in a boardroom now, you know, I feel more confident now. I can think through certain thoughts,
Okay.
you know, without having that anxiety that, you know, most people who do any form of public speaking, you
Right.
know, have a level of anxiety, you know, before they speak. But, you know, as an officer, you encounter those type of situations so much that, you know, you train yourself on how to, you know, push through those fears and display a level of courage. You know what I mean? So it helped me, is what I'm saying. You
No
know,
doubt.
the whole DPD experience really put some tools in my pocket that I still use today in business.
That's really great to hear. When you went into law enforcement, were there any fears or reservations that you had going into the job?
Well, I have to say no, but when I got in it, I had I got an awakening, right?
Okay.
So once I got on the street, when I went in, I would say no. I was ready. I had
Okay.
already convinced myself, you know, that this is what I needed to do.
Right.
And but once I got out there and started seeing the world from an officer's perspective, right? So you got to understand that police only come when the situation is bad. You only
Right.
call them when you can no longer control the situation. So since you can't control it,
Right.
you call for police. And so
Right.
now police come to fix the problem, right? So when police come to the scene, when we came to the scene, sometimes I saw the best in people, but most times I saw the absolute worst.
Wow.
You know, and so you when you see those moments, some moments do bring a level of fear, I guess, you know, or you know, to you, but you're trained to handle so much. You know what I mean? Like most people, like you have to think about this, bro. Like going into a building where you know somebody is in there. They done kicked in the door.
Right.
Or let's give me a better example, right? You go to an alarm call, and when you walk up to the door shuts and locks real quick, right? You walked up to the door and you heard boom, and you know they're in there, and that's
Right.
not their house, and
Right.
it's your job. You got to go get them. You know what I mean? And so now, let's say we're going in the house, we walking room to room, right? Looking for somebody who's hiding, who don't want to go to jail. Yeah, you got to put it in perspective.
Right.
Like this may be that person's third strike,
Right.
or they don't want to go.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of between you and them. You know what I mean? They in their minds they think like, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to not go to jail today. You know, and so it takes a certain mindset to even be a police officer to go into where you know danger is. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole mental game of what happens in that officer's mind when he leaves work. You know, it's hard for him or her to turn that off.
Yeah.
It stays on. You know what I mean? It really stays on. And like I've always told a lot of people that I think if I had to give a statistic, I would probably say 90 to 95% of officers probably have a level of PTSD. You know what I mean? Like that they suffer from, because to go issue situation after situation, seeing the type of things that officers see daily. I'm not talking about some days.
Right.
I'm talking about every day that they see. You know, it's not natural.
Right.
It's not natural for your brain to process. I'm gonna get graphic just for a second. Dead
Right.
babies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or somebody dead.
Yeah.
It's not natural for you to just process that and then go to the next call, get into a fight with a
Yeah.
suspect who doesn't want to go to jail,
Right.
and then take him to jail and then go answer another call. It's not natural.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So there needs to be, like, I'm a big advocate of some type of police practice reform. I think that we need to see the job done a little different. So, for example, if an officer gets into a real situation, I think that he should probably be sent home that day for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Because if me and you just got into a real fight, it doesn't make sense for me to now go pull somebody else over, because now I'm probably gonna be a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
Towards that person. I just got into a situation. It's just not natural, because after I make you mad, if I make you mad, you'll be mad for a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You see what I mean? So there needs to be some conversation that happens on the higher level, where the way that the job is done is looked at. You know what I mean? But I think that based on all the things that we're seeing, the frustration in the community, I think that we're about to see some sort of changes made. I really do.
So you said that you had a long list of relatives who are in law enforcement.
Right.
So were you kind of prepped before you went into law enforcement? And they told you kind of like, of course, the bad stories and the good stories. However, were you kind of groomed for this position in a way?
At that time, yes. I've heard so many cop stories. It's unreal. It's unreal. So for the most part, yeah, I was. I've heard so many things, but also just kind of growing up where we grew up. Growing up as a young black man, you already know a certain life.
Right.
You kind of already get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So going into the police world, it wasn't a big surprise except for the extremes. Right? The extremes is what kind of wakes you up when you see somebody high on PCP jumping on the squad car butt naked. That'll wake you up. You're like, whoa, what in the world is going on?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think I was kind of prepped for it, just growing up the way we grew up. And then of course my relatives, I have had tons of police stories told to me too.
So your relatives in the past, like, have they had a good experience being in? Of course, it's probably not there's probably never a great experience to any career. However, at the end of the day, your relatives, would they say, I put it all on the line and I would do it again if I had to?
Well, I think, let's just use my uncle for example. He retired from University Park. He left University Park as a detective, and then he went over to Cedar Hill. He's had a great law enforcement career.
Yeah.
A great career. I mean, accommodation after accommodation. But the places where he was police was different than where I was. You have to understand, like, I've seen this, so I gotta say it, right? So the way that we police in the impoverished communities is different than how they police in the up.
I heard you say that on your last
Uptown.
interview.
Yeah. McKinney, Allen.
It's different, right?
Yeah.
So you have a more aggressive style of policing in the poor sides of town, right? So where I was, it's more aggressive. What they would call, self-initiated activity. Like you have to initiate that activity. Like they're looking for drugs. They're going to do those things on that side of town versus the north side of town. That's not acceptable because you do that to the mayor's son or to, and I'm not saying that the mayor's son is, let me play politics real quick. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you may pull over somebody of affluent,
high profile,
right, and then you'll get shut down. A sergeant will call you into the office and he may have, you want to talk about it.
But how would you know ahead of time?
Well, they won't do that on that side of town.
Exactly. Okay.
It's different.
Okay.
You could do that on the poor side of town because we lack education
Wow.
in a lot of areas. We don't know how to fight back on certain things. So, yeah.
So
It's the reality. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So I know that you're a former police officer, so you have certain liberties, certain things you can talk about now that you probably couldn't talk about while you were
absolutely
on the force.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So as you know, it's no mystery. There's a huge racial divide in this country. There's a huge shift in our country right now. The climate is changed like overnight within in a 7-day period.
Right.
Right. Police are on high alert. Black people are angry. They've been angry, but they're hot, steaming mad, and they're fighting back. And a lot of young ex-military guys that once fought for their country are now coming back home to fight against their country.
Yeah, sure.
So the climate has changed. And once again, when I went to your Facebook page, you were trying to establish some initiatives to bring us together, to be about change, to unify us, and to bridge some of the gaps.
Right.
Can you speak to that?
Sure. So let's just be real for a second. These issues are not new,
Okay.
Right.
right? This has been going on for a very long time, since the beginning of someone saying, let's create a police department. Let's create this so now we can police the people, right? That abuse of power started early. You mix racism with now power. You know what I mean? So of course, that those issues that we've seen in the past, that's not a new thing. What's new is social media. It's new that now I can communicate to everyone the realities of what I'm experiencing and what he's showing me, what he's experiencing, and now we're all seeing, man, everybody going through this. This is not just in my city.
Right.
This is not just on my street.
Right.
This is all over the world. So
Yep.
obviously we have a real problem, and the frustration of our people is real, right? And it's warranted, right? But what I'm asking for on my social media page and on the platforms that I speak on is for us to be smart, right? Because this problem is not a new problem.
Right.
And the problem is more like an onion, right?
Right.
So as you peel back a layer, it gets stronger. Peel back another layer, it's stronger, right? And so you know, it's not as easy as one blanket solution that fixes all, right? If it was, we would already have fixed this,
Yeah.
right? But in order for us to fix the problem, we need to find that common ground. Now, I'm not talking about common ground with law enforcement. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about first within ourselves. We got to first find out, how are we going to unify this? Because we still got people in our culture. We're so divided, even religion. And I mean, we're divided on so many levels before we can even come together and start making any decisions for our community. We got to first, when I say unify, I mean first, we got to find some solutions in ourselves, find exactly what we want, but then into our households and then into our peer groups, and figure out. And then if you really want to make some real difference, one thing that I know that a lot of people don't like that I say, it's going to take a little bit of work, because you're going to have to actually earn your way into positions of power, because decisions are not made from
Bottom up.
come on. It's just
Right.
the reality. I know it don't sound good, but it's like, I know everybody wants it to change right now. In order for it to change, you actually have to get yourself into certain positions to
Yep.
make a difference. You
Yep.
can't do it. Let's say it like this: if you wanna play the game, you got to get on the field,
Yep.
right? You can't be in the bleachers just screaming and
Right.
marching from the
Right.
bleachers.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not in the game yet.
Right.
Get in the game,
Right.
and then you can make some plays.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And that's the hard reality of our people, because we're acting out of a lot of frustration, which I told you before. We get that. I understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I was a kid, straight up, this burn mark right here was put on me by a white woman at my daycare. She put a cigarette out on my arm.
Oh my God.
True story. Right? I was at La Petite Daycare in Cedar Hill. White woman, she was smoking a cigarette with one of the teachers. She told me to come over there. I was a little kid at the time, only black kid at the daycare.
Right.
And she put the cigarette out on my arm, and they started laughing. Right? So I get the frustration. Right? That's a real situation. But we got to be smart.
Yeah.
Like if we were smart back then, right? My mom probably would have owned that daycare.
Exactly.
We probably would have shut it down.
And her house.
Became million, everything.
Yeah.
But we, as our people,
Right.
we're not in position to really make any real. Now we are now. We're doing more now. Just by
Right.
even having this conversation right now, we're
Right.
doing the right things
Right.
by for us to start identifying how to approach these problems, right? Because before, and this is the reaction you're seeing of a lot of the frustrated people. You're just seeing a knee jerk knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah.
Right.
which is
Yeah.
not really the best way because there's no longevity in that.
Right.
And that's why I was put out the post. Look, we need to come together
Right.
and make these differences because you can't make these decisions out of hate and
Right.
out of you can't do it like
Right.
that. You got to do it in a different heart. You got to go back and figure out, how do you approach this more like a Trojan horse versus anything else. You got to get in there, and then that's how you know the story of the Trojan horse.
Yeah, I know.
right? Okay,
Definitely.
so that's how I would say this type of thing has to be fought. It can't be fought from outside the house. We're not gonna win a war with them like that. They start pulling out guns, like if they really start pulling out guns, like do you understand we're
Yeah.
gonna lose that?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna lose that one.
They're gonna lose that all day long. Like
Yeah.
so starting it like that is not the way.
Yeah.
But what we do have is our brains, and we can if we unify right in the right spirit, I think that we can make things change for the better.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So, thank you for that answer. That was very, very enlightening. And, I didn't get a chance to ask you this while you were in law enforcement, but I was wondering if it was a means to an end or something that you wanted to do long term. I kind of gathered in my own mind that it was a means to an end because you have always been an entrepreneur. You've always had your own projects. You always had vision.
Right.
So I know that you have created this movie. You have your producer, James Hayes, with you here right now, and I just think it's interesting how timing happens because your movie is coming out now. Can you tell us a little bit about The Cliff? And before you speak, I heard you on a different interview, and some of your experiences in the police department kind of inspired the movie. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
So a lot of things that you will get to see in the Cliff movie are things that actually happened. While I was on duty, I have embellished the story to make sure that it was good in Hollywood and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
So we wanted to make sure it was entertaining.
Right.
But yeah, the Cliff started I guess roughly about maybe three years ago. I wrote the script and we cast it for about 2 years. Next thing I know, I was on the phone with this brother right here, James Hayes, who basically helped me bring the vision to life technically and camera wise, and making sure that I got the picture that I was wanted to get out of it. So long story short, it's been a great ride. I'm excited. I couldn't have predicted these issues that have came recently. There's no way we could have predicted that. But I will promise you, when we showed it to the media outlets yesterday, the exact same thing that you just said, it's almost crazy how the timing is for the Cliff movie.
Right.
Because like I just told you, this is 3 years ago.
Right.
And we have things in the movie that speak to right now type issues.
So was the motivation behind the movie basically issues with police and black individuals, or what was the motive behind the movie?
The motive was really just to tell a good story. Really, I didn't go into this trying to with an agenda. I just wanted to tell a good story. I think that the harsh reality is you're gonna always see those race issues. The harsh reality is you're gonna always see those type of problems. Until we do something different.
Yeah.
So those things, being that we just wanted to capture and make sure that we put it out as real as it happens on the street, you get those issues. I mean, it just had to happen that way. So no, it wasn't my agenda to do it, but the fact that it does come across, I am very grateful and thankful that it does, especially right now, because I think that we could use a little bit of that conversation even more.
No doubt. So there's several hashtags that you use that are positive and uplifting. and I feel like there's a longevity. There's a message that you're trying to bring into fruition for years to come.
Right.
And so if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Level Up, hashtag Level Up, and
Right.
hashtag Be the Change.
All right, so level up is, I started out with, every day is hump day.
Okay.
And I still make sure I tell, everyone that every day is hump day. Every day is a good day to grind, work hard, reach out and achieve your goals. After I felt like the people who follow me on social media were grabbing that every day is hump day mentality, I said, okay, now it's time to do what? Level up. Let's take it to another level, because there's phases to every goal that you're trying to accomplish. There's levels to it.
Yeah.
Right. So when you first starting out trying to start your business or whatever, you may just be in the information gathering phase. You just may need to be doing some research and what it's going to take to do it. But then the next level is, okay, now you're going to have to get on the phone. You're going to start making some phone calls. If you were making 5 calls before, if you really want to achieve your goals, you may have to start making 20 calls. You know what I mean? And so that level up is just when it comes to everything in our life, you know the saying, go hard or go home.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? So that's what level up is. Be the Change. That song, it's actually a song, and right now we're just really blessed because a lot of the mainstream outlets, as well as you guys, are talking about this beautiful thing, because at the end of the day, if you want change, it has to start. Right. That's what I said. Within us, it has to start first within you. If you have to be the change that you want to see, and so the answer to, I said this: if you're the righteous people, be the righteous people.
Yep.
You can't turn into the hate that you've seen, because then the cycle continues. You know what I mean? So we have to be the change that we want to see. And I called a guy by the name of Chris Keys to produce and put together the instrumentation for the song "Be the Change." Next thing I know, I called Officer Ray Vaughn,
I saw that.
who is a crazy singer.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, we had 2 busloads of people come in from Austin, Texas. We met at Ariska Productions. Myself, James Hayes, and the guys over at Ariska. We just put together a video that right now is being played all over the place, and I'm thankful because they're calling it, and I don't want to put this out there like that, but I'm gonna say it since I already started. They said, it's like the next "We Are the World" type feeling. You know what I mean? I don't want to put that.
We need that, though.
You
We
know
need
what I
that.
mean?
We need that.
So,
We need that, though.
So
it's very necessary.
thank you, brother.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right, so we got just a couple more minutes, and we got to close this thing out. Brother Hayes, James Hayes.
Hello.
You got anything you want to add to the movie?
Man, thecliffmovie.com.
Hello.
Thank you. Great plug.
Make sure that you go check the movie out. We worked real hard on the movie. It's a movie that, as Dennis stated, the intent wasn't to, touch on some of the stuff that's going on now. But, those are things that, me and Dennis talk about it all the time. I heard Quincy Jones talk about it. He said, when people come to you and they say, hey, you know what did you do to put together Thriller? Or,
Right.
what did you do to put together this?
Right.
You can't put together that. Anybody that comes to you tell you that, like Quincy Jones said, they just lying to you.
Right.
So, there are, powers that are, beyond, this 3-dimensional existence that,
Right.
has helped push things. So when you see that, you just have to be more motivated, and say, you know what, hey, we're on the right track.
Right.
So let's just keep pushing and keep
Right.
pushing and keep pushing.
That's right.
And, man, just to also add to one of the things Dennis touched on, we have to keep pushing, and that pushing starts in the mirror. Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson,
Right.
The Man in the Mirror.
Right. No doubt.
That's a real thing for me. And when you want this change and you want the stuff that's happening to stop happening, you have to look in the mirror. When you want it bad enough, you'll say, hey, you know what is it that I can do different? Or, how is my walk outside? What will people see?
Right.
What's the impact that I can make, starting with me, how I
Right.
carry myself? So
Right.
I think that's real important.
Man, James, you hit a really, really high point. It's important to know that your true north and it's important that your efforts are aimed towards your true north, and it's important to keep that that longevity and that push towards it, because it's easy for us to get off track if you don't know you're going in the right direction. It's kind of easy to be like, man, I don't know if I'm going in the right direction, and get discouraged. But when you're around people like Dennis who all have the same goal,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, sky's the limit. I really
Absolutely,
do take my
man.
hat off to you guys.
Thank you, my brother.
No doubt. So this has been another bonus episode of Black Men Carpool. Check out Dottination.com. Check out thecliffmovie.com. And we out.